Hey everyone, this is Marbozir, this is part 1 of Let's Play Europa Universalis 4. The game was released today, which is 13th August 2013, and so I will be starting a new series. If you're not familiar with Europa Universalis 4, it's a grand strategy game by Paradox, where you pick a nation and guide it through almost 400 years of history. So the scope of this game is just mind-boggling. Anyway, the first part of this series is meant as kind of an introduction to the game. I will be talking about lots of the basic concepts of the game, and I will be talking about all of the things that you should look at when you first start playing. So it's also going to be kind of a quick start guide, if you will. So let's go to the setup screen. As I already mentioned, you can pick any nation that existed in the world at the time. The earliest possible start date in the game is 1444, as you can see right here, but you do not actually have to start in 1444. You can pick any of the 12 recommended starting dates, which you can see right here in the top left corner. So I could go to Revolutionary France, for example, which is 1792, which will change the map drastically, because this is an actual historically accurate map. So I could play as any nation in the world. I could play as Revolutionary France, but I could also play as one of these tiny nations in Africa, for example, if you so desire. You can pick any nation in the world that you want. And not only that, you do not have to limit yourself to one of the 12 recommended starting dates, because you can pick your own starting date. I can use these buttons to modify the starting date, and the map will change to reflect the year that I picked. So there are a lot of possible starting dates in the game, not just the 12 recommended ones. I can pick any year I want. Now, regardless of what year I do pick, the game always ends in 1820, so that's something to keep in mind. If I start in 1792, for example, my game would only be 28 years long, so this is something important to realize. Anyway, I will be starting in 1444, and I will be playing as Poland. Poland is actually listed as one of the interesting choices in this period, and this is for a number of reasons, because in the time period from the 15th to 18th century, Poland went through its rise to power, through the Polish Golden Age, through the period of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, through the decline of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and finally Poland ceased to exist as a state in 1795. Hopefully this is not what's going to happen in my game, and that was an extremely simplified version of Polish history. I will not be talking about Polish history, but this is pretty much the reason why Poland is considered as one of the interesting choices in this time period. So let's go straight into the game. I will be talking about some of the basic concepts of the game, and I will be talking about all of the things that you should look at when you first start playing, because when you first go into the game, if you never played Europa Universalis 4 before, this can be a little bit overwhelming. There are a lot of things to look at, there are a lot of things you should do, or you can do, so I will be talking about some of the more important ones. So, the game starts paused, which is a very good thing. I probably won't be unpausing the game in this video. I will have to go through all of the important things that should be looked at before you actually start playing. So, the first interesting thing about Poland is that it actually starts without a king, which is historically accurate. This is a period of interregnum, which means there's no king. Historically, this lasted until 1447. But I won't have to wait 3 years in this game. Anyway, why is the king important? The king is important because one of the most important concepts in Europa Universalis 4. These are the power points, or monarch points as they are referred to sometimes. They are divided into 3 categories: administrative power points, diplomatic power points, and military power points. Again, this is one of the most important concepts in the game, because these points are used for all the major decisions and all the minor decisions as well. This is effectively currency of the game that you use to actually make decisions. And these points can be more important than actual gold, or ducats as they are called. I'm just going to call it gold because I can. and king actually affects your increase of these points. The base increase of all of these power points is +3, as you can see on the tooltip right here, but your king also modifies this. Your king usually has 1 to 3, 1 to 4 or 5. I just started playing the game, the highest I've seen was 4. So if I had a king right here, he would have a score in each of these skills. So he would have administrative skills, diplomatic skills and military skill, and this would add to my monthly increase of this. So if he had, let's say, administrative skill of 4, then he would add +4 to my monthly increase. This is why the king is so important. And I will have to take care of my situation immediately. This is one of the most important things to do when you first start playing as Poland. Not having a king affects you very negatively because you miss out on all of these extra points. And as I mentioned, these points are used for every major and minor decision in the game. There's one more thing that also affects your income of administrative, diplomatic and military power points, and these are advisors. Now, advisors is again one of the things you should take care of immediately when you first start playing. There are 3 advisor slots, and there are 3 levels of advisors. Also, these advisors are divided into administrative, diplomatic and military advisors, which correspond to the power points, obviously. And the advisors are important for 2 reasons. The first reason is their actual bonus that they give. So for example, this guy gives me yearly prestige +2. I will not be talking about this right now, I'm talking about advisors. I will get to prestige a little bit later. Stability cost modifier, yearly inflation reduction, land force limit, morale of armies and so on and so forth. Now, regardless of the level of the advisor, these bonuses are always the same. So if I find a guy that gives me yearly prestige, he will always give me +2 yearly prestige, regardless of whether he's level 1, level 2 or level 3. Level 3 is the highest level of the advisors available. However, there's one important reason why you want to have high level advisors if you can afford them. This is because the level of the advisor adds to your monthly income of the power points. So for example, if I were to hire level 3 diplomatic advisor, which is this guy right here, he would add +3 to my monthly income of the diplomatic power points, which right now would be a 100% increase for me, because I do not have a king, so my king doesn't add to this. However, level 3 advisors are extremely expensive. As you can see, the difference between level 1 and level 3 advisor is 8 gold per month, and my current income is 4.80 gold per month. So I cannot afford even one level 3 advisor, not to mention 3 of these guys. I can't even afford level 2 advisor, because I would have to spend almost all of my monthly income to get a level 2 advisor. So I'll have to settle for level 1 advisors. It's definitely worth hiring level 1 advisors, even if it's going to end up costing me 3 gold per month, which is still a majority of my current income. But advisors add to your monthly income of the power points, and power points, as I said, are one of the most important concepts in Europa Universalis 4. You want as many of these as possible, because these are used for everything ranging from minor decisions to technologies. You actually have to spend these points to progress your technology. So if I wanted to progress any of these technologies right now, I would have to spend 720 points, which is a lot. So I'm going to fill these advisor slots with level 1 advisors. So I have a choice between yearly inflation reduction or stability cost modifier. Inflation is not something I have to worry about right now, so I'm going to grab this guy with stability cost modifier. If this makes no sense to you, the stability cost modifier, I will talk about stability a little bit later, but I don't want to talk about everything at once. There are so many concepts in this game which are important, especially if you didn't play it before, that it can be a little bit overwhelming, so I will cover one concept at a time. This guy, this is my only level 1 advisor choice. This is basically what I would recommend when you first start playing higher level 1 advisors. Unless you play as an extremely rich country, then you could maybe afford level 2 or maybe level 3 advisors, but most of the time you will not be able to afford level 2 or 3 advisors at the start of the game, as most nations in the game. So I'm going to pick this guy, plus 5% discipline. I think that's going to be better than plus 10% land force limit. Discipline is something that affects combat, so this is going to be very useful. And now, if I check the tooltip of my monthly increase, I can see that my monthly increase changed from plus 3 to plus 4, and this is exactly because of my advisors. Now, if I can get a king, my monthly increase of my power points would also change dramatically. So I have to see what has to be done to actually get a king. This is somewhat a unique situation to Poland. This is not what you're going to see in case of most nations in the game, but this is actually historically accurate. 1444 was a period of interregnum for Poland historically. So let's go to national decisions. This is again one of the important concepts in the game, and when you start playing you should definitely check all of the decisions available to you, not because you are going to actually do them right at the start, but just to give you a general idea of what kind of direction you might want to take in the game. Now, national decisions are things that range from very small decisions that maybe give you a little bit of extra money, a little bit of extra tax, to huge strategic long-term goals. So for example, the major strategic long-term goal right now is forming the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth right here. There are a lot of criteria. If I meet all of these, then I will be able to actually form the Commonwealth, which will give me cores on all of these provinces. I will inherit Lithuania, and my actual name of my actual nation will change from Poland to Commonwealth. But this is a long-term goal. We are in the year 1444, and historically the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was created in 1569 as a result of the Union of Lublin. But anyway, I won't be talking about history right now, but just to give you an idea of when it was created historically. I'm 120 years away. I don't think it's going to take that long. I do think I will be able to create the Commonwealth much earlier. But there's one more thing on this tab, the missions and decisions, and these are missions. Missions are something that gives you a general direction. You do not have to do them, but they provide some rewards. So there are always 3 missions available to choose from. You can pick one of them. You can also pick them and abandon them later and wait 5 years for a new one. But I would generally recommend doing at least one of these, because again, there are rewards that are involved, which can be quite nice. They aren't huge, but it adds up over time. So for example, I have a mission to form an alliance with Lithuania, and the criteria for this mission is to form an alliance with Lithuania. This will probably be extremely easy, because historically Poland and Lithuania was very close. So let's pick this one, and I will get 10 prestige and 25 diplomatic power points as a reward, which is quite nice. Now, what do we have to do to actually get a king, which is what I was going to talk about from the start? We have to get this decision. So, form a union with Lithuania. The criteria for this one is to get stability of 1 and to get 100 diplomatic power points. Now, 100 diplomatic power points, as you already know, is something that you just get over time. So I would have to just wait and accumulate 100 diplomatic points to meet the criteria, but I also have to get stability of 1. Right now my stability is at 0. Stability is one of the more important concepts in the game. It ranges from -3 to +3, and it affects mostly your income and your revolt risk, and a few other things, but these are the 2 big ones. So raising your stability is actually kind of important, and the way you raise it is by going to Stability and Expansion tab right here, and you can spend your administrative power points to boost your stability. I could just spend 90 points outright and boost my stability by +1. This is usually 100 points, but because I have an advisor, which reduces my stability cost increase by 10%, this will cost me 90 points instead of 100, so I will save 10 points thanks to my advisor. So this is probably the first thing I'm going to do in the game, because I have to boost my stability to 1 to meet the criteria for my national decision, and then I have to get this national decision to actually get a ruler, because the result of this national decision is actually getting a ruler. And as I already said, the ruler is important because he adds to my monthly increase of the power points. So I will not be unpausing the game just yet, there are a few more important things to talk about. And another extremely important concept in Europa Universalis 4 are agents. These are these guys up here. So these are merchants, colonists, diplomats and missionaries. And if you played Europa Universalis 3, they work slightly differently in Europa Universalis 4. They are more similar to advisors from Crusader Kings 2. So these are actual people that you can send to perform one task at a time. They are not expended like currency, which was the case in Europa Universalis 3. I actually have to use them to perform one task at a time. So, for example, I could use my diplomats to raise my relations with any of my neighbors, or not just neighbors. I could raise my relations with pretty much anyone, but I might want to use them for something useful. So, if I look at diplomatic map, I will find out that I currently have 2 vassals, which is Mazovia and Moldavia. So what would I have to do to actually annex these vassals? I can go to diplomacy and see that there is an action available here to annex my vassal. I would have to get plus 190 opinion with my vassals to be able to annex them, and I can send my diplomats to raise my opinions with my vassals. It will probably not be enough to get 190, but I can perform some other actions later to raise my opinion with my vassals further, or my relations with my vassals. The way diplomat works, if you send him to improve relations, is that he stays in this nation, country, vassal or whatever for a period of time and improves your relations with it over time. It caps at plus 100, I believe, and once he lives there, that increase is going to slowly decay over time. He does actually have to stay in there to reach 100. It doesn't immediately go up to 100, it will raise slowly over time and hit the cap at 100. So I'm going to send both of my diplomats to improve relations with my vassals. So hopefully I will be able to annex them a little bit later. I also have a missionary. So missionary is still also kind of important. I'm going to have a look at the religion map, which I can see somewhere down here. There are a lot of map modes in the game. Oh yeah, that's it. That's one of the default ones actually. So this is the religion map, and as you can see, most of Europe is Catholic, but some of the provinces that belong to me are Orthodox. And this is important because this increases revolt risk and lowers taxes in my province, that's Orthodox, so obviously I don't want to see that. I don't want to see revolt risk. Right now the revolt risk in this province is 1.5%, and this is because it has non-accepted culture, which raises revolt risk by plus 2, and religious intolerance, which raises it by plus 2.5. So now I could send my missionary here to start working on converting this province to my religion, the Catholic religion. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. He will stay here for a period of time and slowly convert it to Catholic. So this is one of the things you want to do before you unpause the game when you initially start playing. Use all of your agents. There's literally no point to have an agent sitting here and doing nothing. You always want to be using your agents for something, constantly. I also have 2 merchants, which are already used. Now trade is one of the other very important concepts in the game. I won't be talking too in depth about trade, but generally trade is divided into zones, and each of these zones accumulate its trade power in the nodes. But unlike Europa Universalis 3, the nodes are not located in any single country, in any single province. Sorry, I'm still thinking in terms of counties from Crusader Kings 2. But yeah, the node is not located in any single province, it's just a general concept. The trade also flows between various nodes, but only in one specific direction. So right now my merchants are assigned to this trade node. He's gathering income from this one, so if I click here, I can see that my merchant is collecting income from this node. I could recall him, but there's no point recalling him right now. If I have some provinces that belong to this trade zone, I can send my merchant there to collect my income from this node. So this is what my merchant is doing right now. You can also direct trade from other nodes. As you can see with these arrows, trade actually flows between various nodes in one specific direction. So my second merchant is assigned to this node right here, and he is redirecting the trade power from this node to this node, because I do not have any provinces that actually belong to this trade zone. Actually, I might have one. Do I? Yes, I do actually have one, but I have a lot more provinces in this trade zone, so my merchant is assigned to redirect trade power from here to here. And once I redirect some trade power to here, then I can collect it because I have more provinces in this trade zone. The trade power can only flow in the direction indicated by the arrows. So the other nations could send their own merchants to this trade node and redirect the trade power here, for example. That's generally how it works. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but I don't want to dedicate too much time to trade. I could talk about trade a little bit more extensively slightly later. So I still didn't actually unpause the game, but I think I covered all the important things that you should look at before you unpause. There's one last thing that's good to keep in mind, and this is your military. Right now I have 14 regiments, which are right here. I can also click my army right here and go to it instantly. It's a good idea to look at your actual force limit. So if I go to military tab, I can check my force limit. My force limit is 19. So and the force limit means that I can support up to 19 land units without penalties. I can go past 19, but this will give me penalties. This is usually not a good idea unless you're at a war which is hard to win and you really have to do it. But basically, it might be a good idea having some more troops ready, especially if you think you are going to have a war sometime soon. So this means I could recruit 5 more regiments without getting any penalties. There is a very fast way of doing so. I can click the production interface right here, which is something new in Europa Universalis 4. This allows you to construct some buildings in your provinces to recruit some units quickly. I can just click on this guy, then click on some of my provinces and instantly start recruiting them. Now recruiting one unit, one regiment of infantry will cost me 10 units, will cost me 10 gold, sorry, and it will also cost me 0.2 maintenance per month, which is not that much, but it adds up. And it will cost me 1000 manpower. Manpower is another important concept. You actually need 1000 manpower to recruit one regiment, and you also need manpower to actually reinforce your troops. So if you're in a war and you take some losses from some battles, you will actually have to use manpower to reinforce your army. It's quite possible to drop down to 0 manpower, at which point you will not be able to reinforce your army and you will not be able to recruit any more troops. So manpower is something to keep an eye on if you plan having wars. Meanwhile, I'm going to recruit few more, because I will probably go to war with someone. Recruiting one infantry regiment costs you 10 gold. So I can grab one more. Now I'm down to 9 gold. My income right now is 1.39. With 4 more regiments, my income will not be very impressive anymore. But I will most likely end up at war with someone in predictable future. So I think that covers pretty much everything, all the important things to look at. before actually unpausing the game. I have the advisors, I assigned all my agents, I recruited some more regiments. Now there are two very important concepts to also know about, and this is technology and national ideas. Now the way technology works in Europa Universalis 4, you actually have to spend your power points. And you have to spend a lot of power points to progress your technology. Right now, if I wanted to progress my administrative, diplomatic or military technology to the next level, I would have to spend 720, which is a massive amount of points. I'm actually a part of the Eastern group, which means my technologies cost 120% of normal. In case of Western group, they would cost 100%. I can actually westernize, which would bring this cost down to 100%, but westernizing can be pretty hard. It reduces stability to -3 and resets all of the monarch points to -100. So this is pretty harsh. I will not be doing this anytime soon. And one of the reasons why technology is important, obviously there are a lot of reasons, but this is the concept of national ideas. Now, national ideas are groups of bonuses that you can pick. So if I go to here, this is a group of national ideas, and as you can see, this unlocks at level 4 of administrative technology. So if I were to raise my administrative technology to 4 right now, let's say in theory that I would have enough points right now. And if I spend all of these points to raise my administrative technology to 4, I would be able to pick my first group of national ideas. The national ideas are unlocked at level 4 of the administrative technology, then level 7, 10, 14. This is this number that you can see. So now, I have to pick one of these groups of national ideas. They are grouped into 3 categories, which again correspond to your power points. So these are administrative ideas, diplomatic and military. And this is important not just because of what exactly these bonuses do, but also because of which points you have to spend to actually progress through here. So for example, if I were to pick, let's say, offensive ideas, let's say I want to go to war and I want to have a stronger military. So I want to be stronger on the offensive. So if I pick offensive ideas group right here, I will have to actually spend my military points to progress through here. Which is something very important to realize, because if you need, let's say, you need your administrative power for something extremely important, you have some kind of long-term strategic goal you're working towards, and you are saving all of your points to actually achieve that. And if you pick one of these groups that require administrative points to actually spend to progress through them, that will not be very useful for you if you don't actually have spare points to spend in here. There's one last concept in ideas. These are national ideas. Every nation generally has a different group of national ideas. You do not have to spend points directly in them to actually progress through here. You have to spend points in other ideas to unlock national ideas. So for example, I would have to unlock any of these groups and start spending points in them, and once I unlock first three, I will get my first national idea. If you hover over this progress bar right here, you will be told how many more ideas you have to unlock to progress through your national ideas. It doesn't matter which ones you unlock specifically. If I were to reach level 7 of administrative technology, I could get 2 groups of national idea. I could get 2 groups of ideas, sorry, and then pick any 3 in any combination to unlock my first national idea. The Polish national ideas are actually kind of interesting. A lot of them are military based. So one of the best Polish bonuses is plus 33% cavalry combat ability. But there are some other ones. So the first one is production efficiency plus 10%, minus 10% stability cost modifier, which is again the stability boost right here. So this would stack with my advisor. If I were to get that national idea and if I had the advisor as well, boosting my national stability would only cost me 80 administrative power instead of 100 base. Then we got plus 20%, plus 25% national manpower modifier, which is pretty damn good as well, because I will end up having a lot of wars. Historically, Poland was involved in a lot of wars in 16th and 17th century. The cavalry bonus that I already mentioned, minus 10% regiment cost, this is the recruitment cost of new regiments, plus 10% discipline. This is a pretty good bonus as well. This is a combat bonus. If you have an advisor that gives a discipline boost, he only gives plus 5%. So this national idea is twice as strong as the advisor bonus. And finally, plus 0.33 morale of armies, which is again purely a military bonus. So I think that covers it. I would normally unpause the game right now, but I think this video is coming to an end. Here's another thing that you can also spend your points on. This is actually important to mention because I have 7.5% revolt risk in my province right now, and this is also because of my active missionary. As you might remember, this was at 1.5%, but because I sent my missionary to start working on religion, to convert religion from Orthodox to Catholic, my revolt risk went up, because the people in this province don't like when someone tries to convert them. So my revolt risk went up to 7.5%. And I could lower this revolt risk. If I go to the stability and expansion, I will get all the possible rebel groups with an explanation why they are possibly revolting against me. So this group right here, for example, are Orthodox Zealots, which don't like the fact that I'm trying to convert them. So I could spend my military points to get the harsh treatment effect, which would last for 5 years and will lower the revolt risk by -5, which might be kind of useful. I don't really want to deal with revolts right now, and 7.5 is pretty high. So if I decide I don't want to deal with these revolts, I could spend a total of 30 military power points to lower revolt risk in both of these provinces. I could spend 20 to lower revolt risk by 5 in Ruthenia, which will bring it down from 7.5 to 2.5. So I'm going to do this. And again, these are all the important and meaningful decisions that you have to make constantly through this game, and I really like this about Europa Universalis 4. But I'm going to finish this video here and unpause the game in second part. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.